Now that goes against everything that you've been taught your whole life. Everything you've been taught your whole life. You've been taught that you think with your mind. But in the Quran, it talks about what the mind does. Think about some of the things the Quran says about the mind. Jesus said, let us forget the body. He said, let us forget the flesh and go with mind. And go with mind. So therefore, he is identifying that the mind is a vehicle that we could use to transcend boundaries, that we could use to transcend time and space. So when the Prophet Muhammad, he talked about going from Mecca to Jerusalem and back to Mecca in one night, the night's journey. How did he travel? He said he traveled on an animal called Barak, and this animal in one stride, he moves as far as his eyes could see at the speed of thought. At the speed of thought, he was traveling with the mind. You understand what I'm saying? What else did he say about the mind? He said, these tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind. So he's telling us that there is a workshop in the mind. And he's saying where we build up thought. He said where things are made of thought and where we build up character. Now he's telling us what we're supposed to be doing in the workshop, but that's not what you have to do because your mind is yours. You can change it when you want to.
Islam. Paradigm Shifting the podcast. Student Maurice Pennington Bey, the master student. I'm here with the brother, our beloved brother, the brother that does so much work. Brother Maurice Smithfield, Islam Moab. How you doing, Mo?
Islam, I rise to give perfect praise to Allah, honest to His Prophet. Grateful, Mo. You know, blessed on this Sunday to live the life that I live. You know, I have insurmountable amount of gratitude today. So, yeah, man.
Islam.
Having me, appreciate you sharing me on your platform, and excited to just build on this topic.
Islam, all praise due to it. And this topic right here, Mo, man, Mo, this one right here touched me. I mean, it didn't just come out of thin air. You understand what I'm saying? This one right here, you know, I really hope and pray that today paradigms are actually shifted. All right. I need for my people, the Asiatic people here, you know, to know that energy is real, that when even the Prophet Noble Ali asked the Moors, you know, he say, which of you can do something? Like people can do stuff, you know, like our capacities to produce a heaven or a hell are unlimited. All right. And this strength and ability that we have is definitely not restricted to changing and affecting our own condition. But we can actually impact the conditions of the individuals and people around us. We can impact the conditions of people who listen to us, who watch us, who follow us. You know what I mean? Like right now on this platform, you see these feds that we wear? We represent the Moorish Science Temple of America whenever we come on these platforms wearing these feds, even if we're not members. Even if we're not true members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, because the public don't know. You understand me? So with that being the case, whatever we say, it don't just come from Sheikh Maurice Pennington Bey. It don't just come from Smith. It comes from the Moorish Science Temple of America, meaning that it comes from the Prophet Noble Ali, even if it's falsehood. All right? To me, that means something. All right? So, mindjackers. You know, it goes back. I want to say this real quick. I just want to tell somebody, because you see right there, it say master student, and a lot of people, you know, they get that misconstrued. They think that I'm saying that I'm some type of master scholar or master in some type of academic or something. No. I'm saying that I am a master pupil. I will be your best pupil. I will be your best student. You know, I come to the table with an open mind, open eyes, open heart, ready to demonstrate my five according to however you see fit as the teacher. All right. This is what I mean when I say master student. Now, how this name came up was back in 2018, which was my first time ever seeing the internet. I had never seen the internet in my life until 2018. And I seen so many people on these platforms calling themselves master teachers. And I was like, how the heck did all of these people get to become master teachers, especially Moorish Americans? You're a Moorish American Muslim, and you saying you're the master teacher. You the mastered it. You're just no longer learning, huh? You're just the master. And I'm like, nah. Then I started thinking about Bruce Lee. Hey, Mo, you ever seen the Chinese Connection?
Yes, sir.
You seen the Chinese Connection? Okay, all right. So now I'm finna reveal something. Do you remember in the Chinese Connection when they called Bruce Lee and told him that his master was dead?
Yeah.
You remember when he came, he went back to China and he asked him, how did his master die? They say he got beat to death. Mm-hmm. Bruce Lee went out and got drunk. You remember that? He went out and got drunk. Bruce Lee sat there, he was thinking about it, and he said, man, I don't get this. He went and kidnapped the doctor. He took the doctor to the cemetery, gave the doctor a scalpel, and asked him, what body part do you need to find out if somebody been poisoned? Because ain't nobody beat my master.
Right.
But before he did that, what did he do? He went to the dojo where the guy was there who they said had beat the master to death and beat every student in the building, then beat the master up, then made the students eat the charter. Remember that? He told them. So he said, you can't beat me, the student. How did you beat the master?
Right. Yes,
I ain't gonna front. That's what I was thinking.
Islam. No.
That's what I was thinking.
It's a draw.
I just wanted to give a little history on, and meaning to Student Maurice Pennington Bey master student, because I am a grand sheep. I am a sheep first and foremost. But with that being the case, I am a faithful member and I'm going to be forever a student of the prophet of Israel. You understand me? And that's important. So with that being the case, I feel like it's my job, it's my duty to combat all of this falsehood that jokers is throwing out on the spectrum, especially with the spirituality. They got our young people who running around here, worshiping behind God that they know nothing about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we was talking before this all started, and you was telling me, what you think about this whole topic, this subject, and what's going on. So demonstrate that.
Yes, sir. I think going back to my main point, when we look at people dealing in the occult sciences, esotericism, astral protection, spirituality, all of these buzzwords that's in the community. My thing of what I was sharing with our brother is that the difference between somebody that's practicing the sacred arts versus the dark arts is the intention of the practitioner.
That's right.
The intention of the practitioner creates the vibration of the energy experience. Right? Our lessons teach us that sin doesn't lie in the act; it lies in the wish. It lies in the intent, right? Because thought is the cause of all things. So, if you are trying to learn how to, astral project or manifest or loop somebody in to you in a romantic way, etc., for the wrong reasons, then, like our brother was stating earlier, you're starting to create, your heaven or your hell, which is a state of mind. And what our lessons teach us, right? The mind is the land of fleshless things, right? The soul is without the body that it manifests. So soul and mind is one and the same. So the state of your mind is dependent upon the state of your soul, right? Our lessons teach us that our soul is rash. We have to guard against it. we have to use our spirit to direct the course of it,
Mm-hmm.
because we can lose it in the crowd,
That's right.
right? But at the same time, right, though darkness spreads before her face like a cloud over the moon, the soul remains perfect, even in the bosom of a fool.
That's right.
So that's the beauty and glory of Allah, because even though ones may be playing with something and not even knowing what they do, on the back end they're creating the energy that they're gonna have to learn to defeat themselves.
Islam.
You got yourself into that mess. Now you're gonna learn how to get yourself out of that mess, or you're gonna get in the same test over and over again, right? And being in this movement, I've had several different Moors or people with an L and a Bay in their name come in and around the temple talking about, they're dealing with women that are witches, and this, that, and the third. And now they're not prepared to come back to the temple. They've been dabbling in things that bring them no good. We become spiritual materialists. I got this word from the brother, who's Dr. Gilbert. He's one of the people that's featured in the Gaia Network.
Okay.
It's called spiritual materialists. We've literally become spiritual materialists. We have used our soul, which our lessons going to do, and based it to a sense of brutes, a sense of power. When the soul already has all the knowledge, what are we?
Islam.
The intent is wrong.
Yep.
Right? We are all equal, rich, poor, ignorant, intelligent. But we get so one-track minded, we get so desirous in the pursuit of power that we start to fall by climbing.
Islam. You know something more? You just said a lot. You mean real talk, you just said a lot. The energy is real. I want to get this example. I was having this talk with one of the Moors the other day, right? When I was telling him, about this podcast, I was telling him about, what was next, on the table for Paradigm Shifting the podcast. And I told him I want to talk about this subject. And I want to say this to the people, right? Listen to me, please, Morris. Listen, Asiatics, people in period. If you're watching, please listen to this, because I seen this happen. I seen a mother, okay? I seen a mother take her child and place her child's hand under some running water, and she had the child chained. Bring me money, bring me money, bring me money, bring me money, bring me money. Now, water is the conductor. Okay, we all know this. Water is the conductor. And children are innocent. Children, they especially when it comes to their mom, they do what their mom asked them to do. And that's why, like, when I was growing up, when Ouija boards was a big thing, you would always see adults get little children and have us to try to move the Ouija board around for them. All right. Now I want to show you something. When you start asking whoever's listening for something, you saying, give me money, give me money, give me money. Nothing in this world, nothing in life is for free, y'all. Okay, nothing in life is for free. There's a cost. Okay, there is an exchange. If you receive this money, you have to give in return. You got to give back something. Okay, so now you saying, give me money, give me money, give me money. Now I'm on the other end, but I'm not Maurice Pennington Bey. I'm on the other end listening to people begging and asking for things, and I have the power to give to a degree. So you saying, give me money. And I say, okay, I'm going to give you money every day for the rest of your life. I promise you that I'm going to give you money every single day for the rest of your life. I promise. And you like, bet. Because that's what you asked for. That's what you have your child asking for. Okay? Now you done seen somebody on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever performing this ritual. And you got in your mind that you want to come back and perform this ritual. You're going to do it now, right? Listen to me, y'all. So now what I do is I say, I'm going to give you this money. I'm going to give you $1 every day for the rest of your life. And all I want in return is your baby. That's all I want in return. I just want your baby. Now, see, Mo, now, Mo. These individuals, they asking this, they don't know that. Allah never created a heaven or hell for man. We are creators and we make our own. So now we are empowering. We are empowering these entities. We created them, then we empowered them. So now when we ask them, and we're not even intelligent enough about the subject or what we're dealing with to be specific and to then guard ourselves against it. So we just say, give me money, give me money. So, all right, I'm going to give you $1. I'm going to give you $1 every day. But I want your daughter in return. Now I got the power now because you gave it to me to enforce this. Now what? Now what? I gave you what you asked for and I'm taking my pay in return. Listen, stop playing with these dark energies, okay? And I'm only speaking about the people who are fumbling and bumbling through the dark. There are individuals who love the dark so much and they hate the light so much that they have learned their way around in the dark. Okay. Now we're going to talk about these individuals too. But here in the Moorish Science Temple of America, we are revealers of the light. Okay? We know without a doubt or a contradiction that carnal men want not the light, they love the dark, and when the light shines in the dark, they comprehend it not. It's levels even to that, Mo. It's degrees in the darkness. You got some that know way more about the darkness than others.
Definitely. Right. You got the, I can't remember off the top of my head which chapter, but it talks about, right, wouldst thou lay everything you desire before thee, will you be satisfactory? And the answer is no, because there's something within us, right? There's something within us that we want to do things for ourselves. So when these things are then just given to us, it doesn't really register. So then what happens is you become ungrateful and you ask for more.
Yeah.
More. Yeah. Greed, gluttony starts to grow within you because you're just giving things. You don't understand the value of something when you're just giving it.
Yeah.
And that's really what sits at the core of this whole conversation, is that what people value then turns into their pursuit by any means. This is why lessons teach us to draw circles around your passions and desires so that they stay in the bounds of righteousness. You could literally have a passion that is, right, I want to feed everybody on my block. That passion can become corrupt if you don't keep that thought within the bounds of righteousness. Because now it's like, I want to feed everybody on my block because I got it. And y'all hungry, right? So then now that thought, the energy of that thought starts to change in a different vibration. So we have to be careful That's why we have to use the square first before we even use the compass, because our conduct and our character has to be square to then know what to keep within the circle, to know the limits, of things that we even perceive as good. Because whatsoever shall do good can do harm.
That's right.
The thin line between harm and harmony of the higher self and the lower self is very thin. Because every time you're learning, your lower self is right there taking notes as well. Right? Didn't the angels, didn't the tempter say to Jesus, right? Didn't David give his charge unto you?
That's right.
The lower self is quoting scripture to Jesus.
It's quoting it, that's right.
The lower self is quoting scripture to Jesus. So it's like the energy, its purpose is to deceive, to make you think, to make you look this way, to make you have this perspective so you don't see the attack coming from this perspective.
Islam. That's right, man.
So,
No. Demonstrate.
No. Go ahead.
Now, what I was going to say, we went over that chapter in Sunday school today.
Yes, sir.
Chapter 15.
Islam.
Chapter number 15, Mo. And it's not strange that you bring it up. The tempter. The tempter, that's the Lord self. Jesus, he went to be alone with the law. So there was no one there. You understand what I'm saying? And we are all tempted. Even the individuals who fall prey to these mindjackers. I got that title, mindjacker, from Chat GPT. I ain't gonna. Hey, listen, Mo. When it comes to like doing all these descriptions and all that type of stuff, Mo, I go straight to the AI. I tell the AI, look, I'm finna get ready to do a podcast. It's the subject. I need a description. I read it. If I don't like it, I change the words a little bit so it can sound. But at the end of the day, I got way too much stuff to do there to be sitting up typing all this stuff myself, right? So I told the AI, what I was demonstrating, and I said, what do you call these people who do this thing, right? Because these individuals know that they don't know nothing about what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. But they also know that it's a genre, okay? It's a subject of interest. It's something that, people tuning into because of what you said, their greed. You understand me? Anytime our people, and it's sad because we have so much power and capacity, while at the same time we always want something for nothing. We have the greatest capacity to get the job done, but we don't want to do the work. You understand what I'm saying? So we always want something for free. So, I'm pretty sure that when it comes to Google and YouTube searches, there's always somebody trying to figure out how they can gain something by doing nothing. All right. So you have individuals on the other side who say, hey, well, what's the hottest topic? And they saying, shadow work, voodoo. You understand? Witchcraft, spell casting. And they say, okay, they go watch a few YouTube videos. They ain't go through what we went through to really learn the truth about this stuff. So yeah.
That perspective, Mo, is right. Even, and this is the importance of us understanding our nationality and us being based in the prophet's measure. Because a lot of people that didn't get into these things are still under European psychology.
That's right.
So they think like colonizers. And when you are learning these different things, you are literally thinking of ways to separate yourself from others. Mm-hmm. And that's what European psychology does. Mm-hmm. It separates. It brings about the falsehood of the individual, right? What the individual stands alone. So what makes these things so appealing to people is that they've been given these stories since they were little kids, right? fairy tales, myths. Our whole society is based off of myth. Myths is what is how societies guide their morals and conduct. So now our people thinking that they are black, right? When they think they're black, right? I had a brother tell me a few years ago that to be black is to be resilient in the face of oppression. Right? So what that means is we're thinking from a limited perspective. So when you're thinking from a limited perspective, from a perspective that's a lack of abundance, and then you are then being introduced into power that goes beyond your imagination, right? You then start to compartmentalize something that it doesn't work that way, right? So what then starts to happen is their perspective withholding this knowledge only goes so far because they want to use it for personal gain. Give you an example. When we think about kings in Western civilization, right? A lot of imagery of kings is, right, they being fed something, they being fanned, they got all these people around them being service and things like that. But they haven't been fed the image of the servant king. The king that's there for everybody, the king that puts everybody before himself. Right. So then what we're trying to do is tell our people, yes, we come from a rich history. Yes, we come from a rich past. Yes, we come from kings and queens and all of that. But we should be the first ones to serve, be the first ones to be humble, be the first ones to give the greatest of hospitality to others. Because we have seen and experienced different ages of human existence and have carried this tradition, the tradition of the philosophy of the ancient prophets, right? Which our founder, Noble Drew Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, tells us this is the purpose of our lessons, to understand the philosophy of the ancient prophets. So here we are in the midst, being the David of the light, surrounded by the Goliath of darkness, trying to point people to this small speck that could then overcome the giant of darkness.
You know something? I want you just see. You brought it up. You brought it up quick. My intention was to definitely demonstrate this, right? Because it's all in scripture, and sadly, a lot of our people wasn't taught to see themselves in scripture, or really weren't taught the truth about the scripture. Okay, so Allah says through the Prophet Muhammad, first and foremost, I want to demonstrate to the Moors, how to comprehend scripture real quick. Allah says through the Prophet Muhammad in Surah 3, Ayah 7, he teaches us that a part of the book, and when he say the book, he's talking about all scripture. You know that Allah refers to all the scripture as the book, as the one book. So he says that a part of it is fundamental, and this is the basis of the book. And then a part of it is allegorical. Okay. So he's letting us know that part of this book is fundamental, it's based in fact, it's based in actual history. These things happen, in the past, or they're happening right now. And then a part of it is strictly allegorical. Okay. But remember what he said. He said that the basis of the book is the fundamental part, the part that is, not allegorical. Okay. He then tells us to be careful and to be aware, to beware of the individuals who take the allegory and try to twist it to their own purpose, for their own benefit. Now, with that being the case, as a young Moorish American, I learned this. Now my approach to studying scripture changes. All right. So now in the scripture, for all of the individuals who want to really, really know, when you start asking Allah four things. The King Solomon, when we talk about serving kings, all right, the ancestor of the prophet Jesus, the King Solomon asked Allah for wisdom and knowledge. He didn't ask him for great wealth and great money. He asked him for wisdom and knowledge. But Allah still asked him, why? Why do you want this wisdom and why do you want this knowledge? And the King Solomon said that he wanted it for his people. Selflessness. He wanted this for his people. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America says that the glory of a great king is ever the welfare of his people. So Allah gave him, he made him what? The wisest man. And then in the great Quran of Muhammad, we learned that he also gave him command of the jinn. So now people think that the Satan or the devil or Iblis was the chief jinn and he had command. But no, he gave this command to Solomon. So he gave him great wisdom, great knowledge, command of the jinn, and then he gave him incredible wealth to go with it. Because if you want to take care of the people, you got to be able to feed them, right? So while our people is watching these jokers on YouTube and trying to figure out how to get those things that they need, Islam, baby Moab. Islam, stop the press. The Prophet Noble Ali say that this is for what? The little ones around the feet and the yet unborn. Islam. But yeah, I wanted to share that with the more. So while you run into all these YouTube channels and all these Instagrams and you searching for the wisdom of the ages, it's in the book. It's in the book. The truth is in the book. You know.
So, and then our lessons teach us too. It's like, it's not in possessing good things, but knowing the use of it. Right. So a lot of these things that's being passed around in the spiritual conscious community, I've not applied it. And I've not applied these things. It's only talked about in theory. Right. Things like, let's just use, for example, Star Sirius, the Pleiades, Orion, right? These different constellations. Like, oh yeah, we from Sirius and all these things. Even the Quran talks about it, etc. Not really understanding that, hey yo, this is all done in science. That when these constellations appeared at a certain time, it was time to start planting certain things. It was time to start tilling the soil because we live off the land. The food comes from the land. The medicine comes from the land. The dye comes from the land. The clothing comes from the land. Our whole existence is off the land. So the significance of when Sirius rises in Egypt, the Nile floods, everybody eats. So then the spiritual story then starts to come around this. And this is what I'm saying. This is why mythology, the narrative, runs society. Yes. This is why our lesson is so important, that all Asiatics need to root themselves in this knowledge, that we can easily distinguish the art from the not.
Yes.
Like this Moorish science is glasses for distinguishing the art from the not.
Hey, so that's the second time that you brought up the myths. Yes. All right. So and this too we was talking about in Sunday school today. So our ancestors were they understood the importance of learning and continuing learning even after their physical life was over. So what they did was they knew that the thing that needed to be studied most is self. Okay. Just like Elihu said to Mary and Elizabeth, if you would ask me what to study, I would say yourself, and you will have studied them, and would ask me what to study next, and I would say yourself. All right. So in studying the self, our ancestors, because the Quran says to do what? It says know it by it says seek it by its virtues, know it by its faculties. So they broke all these virtues down. They broke all of the faculties of the self down, stripped it all down, individualized it, gave character to each virtue, to each faculty, to each character trait, created stories, gave these things lives that can then be studied so that we could better learn about ourselves. But today we are so ignorant when it comes to understanding our own vine and fig tree that we have allowed for Europe, for Romans, who call us occultists or pagans or heathens or polytheists, to then turn around and say that all of these attributes of the self that our ancestors gave character to so that we could better learn our character, said that we worship them as gods. Now we are calling them myths because we misunderstand that these stories were stories only about our own potential, good, bad, and ugly. Okay. And I want to give an example, and I would use an ugly example. All right. So let's talk about ancient Kemet. In ancient Kemet, they had a netter named Set. Set represented man's ego. Okay. Man's ego. See, our ancestors knew they never had a devil. There was no devil. The only devil was the ego. And they called it Set. And they called egotistical individuals Setians. That's where we get the term Satan from. Okay. But they gave Set a whole life story. And his life, he was jealous of his brother, who was Asar, or a lion man, right? Who in the Hebrew, they call him what? Emmanuel. All right. In Greece, they call him what? Osiris. All right. But at the end of the day, you're only talking about an attribute of the self, not a deity or an entity that exists outside of the self that rules over you, that has the potential to move you this way or that way. No, it's a part of you. Okay, but we forget that. But since Seth, was jealous of his brother, he wanted to get rid of his brother so that he could be the king. The ego. That's what the ego do. What title does Satan give himself? God. All right. He wanted to be the son. You see? Now, with that being the case, when I joined the Moorish Science Temple of America, and I was going into all of the halls of learning like Jesus did, and I was sitting down and I was studying with everybody and learning these things, right? And then I come out here, and then I turn around, just like right now, I got another computer screen sitting right here, and I got Facebook on one side, and I got YouTube on the other side. And when you turn on this YouTube demonstration, man, listen, for me, it's a wonderful thing. I could go on YouTube, I could pull up your videos, I could pull up the Moore's videos, I could pull up anything I want to watch, while at the same time, I could click in this demonstration to find anything. All types of knowledge. They'll take these same attributes of the self that was created so that we could better learn ourselves and turn them into, man, something totally nothing else. And I just hate the fact that we bring these things to life, and these things are really hurting us. When I seen that mother do that with that child, it scared me to death. All right. Because I seen that scared me. And then I asked myself, how many other mothers around Moorish America are doing this same thing? How many other mothers right now, without understanding that they are calling on energies that have been created? We got to know that we are giving these things life. Okay. The same way Allah made man from dust. Think about this. Look at the instruction, because man is made in the image and after the likeness of his father God Allah. So the same way that Allah made man from dust, Moab, and then he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, man then became a living soul. So here it is now that we can form these things and then give them life, Mo. And they really, really impact and have a real effect on us. And more often than not, it's not the impact and the effect that we are looking for. It's not what we're looking for. We're not getting what we going after. We're not getting that.
Islam, and just to camelback off of that too, it's like this is one of the main purposes for scripture too, is for giving us a roadmap, because we have objective truth. Objective truth is if water gets below a certain temperature, it's gonna freeze.
That's right.
Right. So what you said was perfect about understanding how these stories were ways for it to tell about the principles, the virtues, and the vices of man. Right. So the first chapter in the Holy Quran of Mecca, the open, the way, right? Guide us to the straight path for those who earned your favor, not to the path that those who went astray. So each story is pretty much about, all right, these are the people that's on the straight path. These are the people that went astray. And we have to pick up on the patterns. We have to pick up on the patterns of the objective truth in human interaction. Right? The settings is what make, like you were saying earlier, right? Us growing up in European psychology is what makes us think that we are in lack of resources, that there is a lack of knowledge, that there's only a ceiling to so much knowledge that you can have, that you got to hoard it from other people. That there's only so much money in the world that you can have, that you got to keep trade secrets to yourself. Right? That there's only so much spiritual power that in order for you to feel special, you got to make others feel not special. When there's room for all. It's like we like the stars in the sky. We all can shine.
Islam.
Right? So
Islam.
when the lessons teach us that the higher self is the mother of the virtues and the harmonies of life, these are things that cannot be seen tangibly, that you can't hold honor in your hand.
Islam.
It has to be acted out. It has to be played out through the story that's being told. And again, you know, I guess this is kind of the thing, is that this is the importance of us having our own, getting our history back by way of the prophet. Of us understanding that the people that represent the higher self and the people that represent the lower self, you can see that in every story. You can see that, right? Adam and Eve had a son that was a prophet and had a son that killed their other son. Had a lineage that was a prophetic tradition, had a lineage of people that then mixed with fallen angels, right? So you can take this to Greek mythology, right? You can take this to the Egyptian mysteries. You can take this to what they call Phoenician or ancient Canaanite. The settings of how the virtues play out is still there. And recently, I've been doing a lot of research on the different stories in the Bible and how they actually play out in actual history, right? Where things like the Exodus, and how they haven't found evidence of the Exodus story actually happening.
Islam.
When really it's symbolic of Canaanite people moving out of Egypt due to a conflict that was happening in Egypt at that time. Now, if you study Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom, Egyptian history, you can start to see the parallels between the story that's being told in the Bible and the actual history that's happening. And this is how I know when a prophet is saying that certain propaganda has been put into this book, you start to see why. Because our people have been made to separate themselves from having a history outside of oppression and resistance.
Islam. That's right.
Which limits how we work together, which limits how we see ourselves, which limits how we build our communities.
Islam. Hey, so I was asking you earlier. Had you ever seen this joke on YouTube? But his name is Unc 607.
Unc 607.
Mo, man, let me tell you, this is the most ridiculous bit of fantastic foolishness that I have ever bear witness to since I've been alive. I mean, fantastic. And the craziest thing is, this joker got like 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. You know, like people are really tuned in and they listening to this guy. And you know, they look, check this out. Look what the sister say. He goes in what? He goes in what? You understand me? Like, goes in what, beloved? We, you know, there's a reason why the Prophet Noble Ali tells us that profanity is prohibited even in the mildest form. Okay. We have to understand that when an individual is profane, profanity is the opposite of spiritual. All right. So if I am sitting here and I'm telling you, or I'm giving you the impression that I'm talking about divinity, divine, I'm talking about ancient wisdom that comes from Allah, that comes from whatever you consider is the source. But I'm cussing and fussing and you know, that is me telling you that I am full of crap. That is what that is. Okay. I tell everybody that one of the hardest things that I ever did in my life was to stop using profanity. And truth be told, if you catch me at the right moment or the wrong moment or whatever you want to call it, you know, I might go off, Mo. Like, hey, you know, while at the same time though, Mo, like you know, we try our best to obey our prophet. You understand what I'm saying? Because we understand that there's a science to being a Moorish person, to being the Moorish people. There's a science to it. And when we talk about what it means to be the Moorish people, okay, we know that the modern name for Moabite is Moroccan, and Moorish is to say that I am that. I am a child of God. I am the seed of the Father. Who is Allah? Allah is the Father of the universe. So for me to be the seed of the Father, then I have to strive as much as I can to not be profane. And I'm telling you that this guy is profane as it gets. He is profane, and then he's mixing. You know, like he, you know, somebody say, man, he guilty talking about Sophia, and ooh, and I'm like, okay, that's Greek. You're Asiatic.
Yeah, man.
That's Greek. You are an Asiatic. What did the Prophet Noble Ali say? He told the Moors, he said, if you want European grand sheets, I'll get them to you. Okay? Be careful. Be very, very careful because these people are regurgitating these things that work. They keep on, they one day he popped up on social media, he said something, he acted a certain way, and a lot of people responded to it. And since then, he just been continuing to keep doing that. And it ain't just him. I'm just using him as an example because he disgusted me so much.
And I think this is why, people are what they say late adapters to the prophet's mindset, because, right, profane language, and we are so lost in keeping it real.
That's what it is.
But what we perceive as being real is the fakest thing out. We gotta be real. We gotta be, real NIGGASs, right?
Oh my God.
We gotta be real this. We gotta be real that, right? Not really understanding, like, bro, your conception of how life works is off. And this is not me saying looking down on anybody. It's about us really. Our people are literally living in cities and states and don't know the laws that they live in, but complain about
everything.
The law.
And complain about everything, Mo.
Everything. We don't even know the rules of engagement, but say the system is rigged. You've rigged your own mind first before the system can even have its chance to rig on you. You've rigged your own mind by your thinking.
You just said something, Mo. I gotta demonstrate this. That's the perfect time to demonstrate this, right? Like you said, our people we don't know the rules. We don't know the rules. We don't know the rules of engagement. We don't know the rules of this. We don't know the rules that pertain to the work that we trying to do. For those who think they doing this work, they are rules, okay? So the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America says, I'm gonna point to a couple things that the Quran says about these rules. For one, it says that law governs all events. For one. So now here it is. Most of our people who are going, trying to work these rituals that they think they learning from these YouTube and social media platforms, they want something in return. They're trying to manifest a certain event. Well, law governs the event that you're trying to manifest. So now here it is, you're trying to manifest this event, but you don't even want to study or learn the laws that pertain to it or that governs it. All right. So there you go again, playing with energy that you don't know nothing about. All right. Then two, it says that the sin lies in the wish and the desire, not in the act. So here you go again with your own selfish stuff. You're calling them when Allah already told you. He said that the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah, and he appointed to everyone his portion in what measure seemeth good unto himself. So he has already decided that what he gave you is enough. Now here you come with your hand out asking for more. Now, Allah we know is the lesson teach us all mercy. He is all God, right? He is all God and he is all mercy. So Allah will say, well, what do you want it for? Now, here again, there's a law governing the event because he instituted laws for the government of mankind, for the government of the world. Allah did. So, see, it's right here in the Quran, Moors. For all of y'all that don't want to study your lessons, that don't want to qualify yourself, that don't want to go into this lesson, to open up the Quran and actually get from it what's in it, but you want the benefits and the results that come from one who has done the work.
All the secrets of the ages has been revealed in that book.
Now, I want to tell them more something. There is a reason why You know, one of the Mobites called me a warlock, Mo.
Yes, sir.
She say you a warlock. She called me a warlock. And I just shook my head and I said, I'm not no freaking warlock. I'm a Moorish scientist. And not only am I a Moorish scientist, one thing that I do know, I'm not gonna try to work nothing. For one, if I ain't 100% right. And for two, if it ain't for somebody else. Because Allah gave me everything that he gave me every one of his own attributes. He gave me every one of his own attributes. I feel like the Prophet Muhammad, when the Prophet Muhammad kept on having to, when Moses kept sending him back to ask for respite about the prayers. Why should I ask for more? The Prophet Muhammad didn't teach us to pray for more. He taught us to affirm in our prayer. And he taught us to work, to be industrious. All right? The Prophet Noble Ali gave us everything that it really takes to do that work. While everybody is out there talking about shadow work, turn to chapter 5 in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And one day while he was bringing forth the tools for, when he was wrought with his father, he said what? He said, these tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things are made of thought and where we build up character. So there go the shadow work right there. The shadow work ain't done with candles and incense and all of that type of stuff, with dolls and all of that type of stuff. It's done in the workshop of the mind, where things are made of thought. And we know that what? Thought is the cause of it all. It's right here in the Quran. You see? I wish. I wish, Mo.
Oh, you hitting on the pressure point, because again, it's about thinking things direct the force. Thinking things direct the force, Mo. So again, it comes back to the intention of the practitioner, right? And I wanted to, I forgot to throw in the historical piece here earlier. Again, that European psychology, right? So things like witches and stuff like that. Well, understanding that our people during the medieval period, right, medicine was huge in our Andalus, and it spread to the rest of Europe. So then certain medical practices were then associated with the Moors.
That's right.
So then if they caught a woman doing something similar to Moorish practices, right, then it will be perceived as witchcraft. But the whole time, she's just telling you that, hey, yo, this ginger is good for your stomach.
Islam.
It's straight like that. But now they have then flipped the imagery of these things and then have placed a certain meaning behind it to again get people to then be a send-off man in this spiritual knowledge. Because that's what's going on. People are taking these things, taking these symbols that has been force-fed to them since they was kids in Disney movies. And now taking these symbols to go to Never Never Land.
Hey, Mo. Hey, hold up, Mo. see, cause you just hit on the cover. You just hit on some demonstrations, Mo. You hit on some demonstrations, Mo. You talked about the witches.
Yes, sir.
And then you talked about Never Never Land.
Yes, sir.
Now we know that story of Peter Pan is deep. But then you talked about, not only did you say witch, but you said witchcraft. Right. Okay, now when we start talking about craft, right? When we start talking about craft, now we get into where we really are. These things, have not, because a craft is something, that is a proficiency that individuals possess, like a trade, something that we can do that can benefit, not only ourselves, but those also around us, our craft. You understand what I'm saying? Well, when greed came into this, then now it is your craft against my craft. So let's ask ourselves, historically, who were the people that said that witchcraft was all wrong in the first place? Because we're not here to beat down the fact that some of us can do some stuff. We're here talking about individuals who are, for one, mindjacking you. They can't do nothing. You are empowering them. They don't have no power. And then we're talking about the individuals whose intentions are not pure. So now you are falling into a deep, dark energy that they are creating, and their intention is really not to create this dark energy, but just to make money. And at the end of the day, this is how witchcraft became evil in the first place. Was because the other practitioners of individual crafts felt like they were competing with them. They needed to stop them. The church, for one, like you demonstrated, medicine, that's a craft. It's an art form. You understand what I'm saying? It took hundreds of thousands of years for us to develop, just to be able to identify antibiotics, just to be able to identify, things that can beat back illness. Okay, this takes a commitment, because how many people gonna pay attention to something that long to be able to then save lives the way that the practitioners of medicine has done over the course of time? But they're competing with the church because they want you to come to the church and give a donation. They're gonna pray for you. You understand me? I read this series of books, Mo. Let me tell you something. It's a series of books called the character is Uhtred. It's a historical fiction, and it talks about Alfred of England, who actually, made Christianity the thing that it is today. And I'm not beating down, not jumping on the Christians or nothing, okay? But we talking about history. Okay, well, back in medieval times, because this was around the 10th century, okay? So around this time, people would, they would get sick and they would go to the church, and the church would do this. Well, the church would send a gallon of holy water, a couple clips off of Saint such and such, so and so's toenail, and they would tell individuals to boil the toenail in the water and drink it, and it would cure them of their plague. Plague now. Now, we know that history teaches us that plague destroyed whole cities, wiped out whole colonies of people, while the church was having these people drink toenails in boiled water. Now, these individuals are competing with the people who really know medicine. These are the people who got the power to do what? Call them witches and then burn them at the stake. You understand what I'm saying? So now this is the reason why there has become a misconstruity or a misunderstanding about this particular craft or this form of work. You understand me? These are the same individuals who, when the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was creating teas and compounds, and he said that these will cure you of everything that you were not born with. When we have, newspaper clippings saying that individuals will come to the Prophet and be touched by the Prophet and walk away healed from whatever they came to the Prophet with. Okay, this was an individual who was working. Okay, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was working. The sheiks raised up back to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, they was working. You understand me? Elijah, the Prophet Jesus, these individuals who we see in scripture, the Prophet Muhammad, these Moors were working. You understand me? I'm not talking about what they was doing.
That's not what we here talking about. We ain't not fighting no fight against that. We fighting a fight against this spookism that's being globalized and then being pushed on platforms like we demonstrating from right now. You understand me? Because it hits home. It hits home. So many young people in our community, sadly, and it goes back to the education factor. See, I know you a school teacher, Mo, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you here. Okay, because you're a school teacher. You deal with educating individuals, teaching them things that they do not know. Okay, well, so many of our people lack the fundamentals of education, meaning that they have not learned to properly comprehend. They have not learned to analyze. They have not learned these things. So they find it difficult to open up books and then gather information, learn things, and then say, okay, well, I'm going to practice what I'm learning until I master what I'm learning. So since they don't know how to do that, or they don't have confidence in themselves and believe that they can even learn now, they turn to these platforms, and you got these mind jackers and these fake so-called influencers who really is just actors. You understand me? They just actors. And they giving them some garbage, Mo. They giving them some garbage, but the garbage is then in return being given, it's being empowered. It's actually being empowered. Remember that this evil is a myth, but it's a shadow of a thought. And what? We still begging, we still seeking for redemption from it because it is actually affecting us. So even though it's a myth, even though it's only a shadow of a thought, even though it's not real, it's still affecting us. Yeah, listen, I know I can get real passionate.
I'm with you because the crazy thing about it, you know what's crazy? Like you have this whole debate, spirituality versus religion. But when you understand the story of Jesus, what greater spiritual power would you want than the ability to resurrect from the dead?
Ooh, there you go again.
What greater power? Our lessons teach us that Jesus, right, his white robe form stood next to his regular form, and they saw the body of the Nazarene transmute.
That's right.
So what power are we seeking when the secrets of all ages is telling you right here that his right robe form stood next, his angelic form stood next to his bodily form, and that the Roman soldiers hid their face.
Hid their face.
They hid their face, Mo.
And they were strapped, Mo. And they were strapped.
Swords.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what really are we trying to attain spiritually? This is how you know people aren't sincere in what they doing. Because if I'm serious about gaining spiritual power, look at the stories of the prophet. Jesus resurrected from the dead. Solomon was able to talk to the animals, control the jinn, right? Enoch, Elijah went into the heavens. Moses can turn his staff into a serpent. What are we talking about? We should be understanding the patterns of these men, right? Jesus was a man made stronger, buffeted of every kind, pressed upon the thorny way of life. People are trying to avoid hard work. Let's keep it real. People are trying to avoid hard work, accountability, discipline, sacrifice.
That's right. That's right. You know something? And big facts, Mo. Big facts. Big facts. I want to show you something. We was talking about this in Sunday school today.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now draw. Jesus was tried.
We forget that. We forget that when the Romans came and got Jesus, they didn't just take him and just put him on the cross.
Yes, sir.
Okay. He was tried.
Yes, sir.
He was tried by the Roman governor Pilate.
Yes, sir.
He was found innocent. He wasn't found guilty. Pilate found him innocent. Okay. So now Pilate finds that Jesus is innocent of the crimes that he's been charged with. So Pilate then appeals to the people, all right, because of the superstitious people are the Jews. Now, mind you, they had a custom they had adopted from foreigners of other lands. And then Pilate turns around and he reveals to us where they adopted their custom. He said that my people have a custom that you have adopted. And he tried to get the people then to send Jesus away. I want y'all to listen. He tried to get the people then to send Jesus away instead of sending Barabbas away, because Barabbas had been found guilty of the murder of a score of men. A score. Okay? So he tells them that he wants them to send Jesus away. They say no, they raise all types of fuss. They getting ready to burn his whole house down with everybody in it. And they like, no, we kill that joker. So before that, he say, man, this is your king. Will you put to death your king? Now, these are the same people. Remember in chapter 15, Jesus say, my Lord self is strong. By many times I am bound down to carnal life. Have I the strength to give my life a willing sacrifice for the sons of men? He said, when I stand before men, when I stand before these men and they ask for proof of my messiahship, what shall I say? Okay. Now, the same man he was standing before ministering to him, right? This is what he was doing when he was standing before him. He was ministering to him. He was making blind people see. He was making lame people walk. He was giving deaf people the ability to hear. These people who he was standing before, they seen him do this stuff. They seen him feed thousands of people with a couple of fish. This is what they seen him do. But what did they say? They say he ain't our king. We don't have no king except for Tiberius. Now, who was Tiberius? He was a Roman emperor who they probably never met now one time. They never seen him. They never talked to him. They didn't know nothing about him. So the individuals, they see me and you, Mo. They see us.
Yes, sir.
They see us in our community. They know what we do. You understand me? And guess what? While we doing it for them, oh, they happy to receive it. But then at the end of the day, they turn to these people who they don't know, who they ain't really seen do nothing. And they call them king. They call them leader. They look to them like they the sheep. You understand me, Mo?
Mm.
You understand that the same thing that was happening 2,000 years ago is happening today.
Right now.
And you know why? Because when they come to us, we tell them that it's important that they go through what we have went through to get what we got. And they don't want to do the hard work. You just said it, bro.
Oh, and this is why the Quran, right? It's a reason why the story of Moses is probably one of the most prevalent stories in the Quran, because he's telling us, bro, Moses was like, all right, y'all want this? All right, y'all can have it. Y'all want this? Y'all can have it. And they still wasn't satisfied. So then this is why when Allah is talking to Muhammad in the Quran, it's like, we're not going to be sending these signs again, because we sent these signs to people, to Moses. We sent these signs to David. And the people took these signs for granted. So when your quote about the prophet saying, which one of y'all think y'all can do something? Because y'all are taking this spiritual, sacred, precious knowledge for granted.
For granted, that's right.
For granted. So no more signs.
Mm-hmm.
We have to become adults and solve this problem ourselves, and it's only gonna get worse until we solve it.
That's right.
These people are trying to play with people's reality.
Islam.
More and more people are being out of touch with reality. If you ever seen the movie Inception, there's a scene in the movie Inception to where the chemist takes Leonardo DiCaprio and his crew to the place where they hook people up to the dream machines, because these people have gotten so accustomed to going to the dream machines that they can't stand regular life.
Wow.
So they have to spend their waking hours being hooked up to these machines to feel alive, to go to sleep, to feel alive. Like, this is what's going on.
Wow. That's crazy.
Bro, it's crazy, bro. Like what you just said again. Like Jesus' story, these stories, these people, the feats that they was able to obtain. But people are acting like they better than understanding these stories. And it's like you missing the whole point. You're missing the whole point of the virtues that you can attain from understanding the story of Jesus, from understanding the story of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, from understanding the story of Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali's story is parallel, almost parallel to the story of Muhammad, to the story of Jesus. We dealing with the same type of people.
Islam. So in our 101s, right?
Yes, sir.
They say the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire. In our 101s, you know, we say, where was he born? In the state of North Carolina, 1886.
Yes, sir.
And it says, where was he born? Bethlehem was Judah, in the house of David. So when you look at these two formulas, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with formulas now. We're dealing with, okay, well, how was a Noble Drew Ali produced? What made Noble Drew Ali? How was the prophet Jesus produced? What made the prophet Jesus? Okay. So when we look at these two keys, we look at the fact that the prophet Noble Drew Ali was born in the state of North Carolina in 1886. The state of North Carolina. We know that in the Carolinas that most lynchings took place in the Carolinas than in any other place on earth. All right. Then the prophet said that he never told anybody who his parents were or where he was born, because he didn't want them to do to his parents as they had did to Joseph and Mary. And he didn't want them to make a shrine out of the place where he was born. But when we look at where was the prophet Jesus, where was he born? And it said in Bethlehem in Hebrew meaning the place where bread is made, of Judah. One of the metaphysical definitions of the word Judah is chaos. All right. Of Judah, in the house of David. The metaphysical definition of David is something like a Christ. So now we just been taught exactly how to make a Jesus. We just been taught exactly how to make a Jesus. This is what the prophet Noble Drew Ali, he just taught us how to do it. He told us if we would make a warm and loving house, even in the ghetto, all right, even in the ghetto, even in chaos, in a chaotic state or a chaotic condition, but as long as the house is comforting and loving, and in the house there is a man who is something like a Christ, not perfect, not exactly the Christ, but something like a Christ, a David, in the house of David. then a Jesus can be produced, or a noble Drew Ali can be made. See, you Moors don't want to study your lessons. You don't want to do the work.
I don't want to do it,
You
Mo.
don't want to come to Sunday school. You don't want to master the principles of learning. Number one, it says that attention is the pilot that will conduct thee into her port, into the port of truth. All right? You don't want to pay attention. You want to go to YouTube and pull up on YouTube and try to get somebody to tell you. You want to try to find somebody who can demonstrate. Listen, man. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali one line when he said he gave you everything it takes to save a nation and told you to take it and save yourself. Study your lesson. I mean, that's what I do.
Mo, you know, we got good news and bad news. The good news is we the answer. The bad news is we the problem. Jesus said, all power in heaven and earth is mine. And to you, I give all power of heaven and earth. And now, not but knowing that everybody is a creator, we are upholding through our thoughts the creative hell that we have placed ourselves in, like the bird tearing up his side against the cage, Mo.
You're right, Mo. You're right. And you
Even,
want to tell you something?
even within our ranks.
And
Even within our ranks, Mo.
I was just about to say that. That's what I was going to say.
Even within our ranks, Mo.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you something, though, Mo. I'm gonna tell you something. I don't even demonstrate. I don't even like when you demonstrate that. You know, that's something that's understood.
Yes, sir.
The Prophet of Drew Ali gave us the key. He said, "United we stand." So for Moors like you and I, you know, it's our job to just be example to those individuals, because a lot of those Moors that are a part of the problem, a lot of the Moors that are a part of the problem believe within their heart that they're doing the right thing.
Indeed.
They need to really see, the right thing being done, so that they can, then, because they're gonna pull out their square because they believe they're doing the right thing. So they're gonna try to work their tools. So when they pull out their square and they start to measure their line, they're going to find that their lines are crooked. And the only way that they're going to find that their lines are crooked is by their lines being placed next to our straight line. You see what I'm saying? So I don't even, just like, at the same time.
Yeah, Mo, I wanted to just real quick, I get what you're saying. I'm even speaking just vision of like what we think is possible, Mo. Even as Moors, what we think is possible. And that's across the whole paradigm. Inside Moors, inside the temple, Moors outside the temple. Of what we think is possible is even limited to a dualistic perspective. Going again back to European psychology, like our goal is to not become equal with anybody. Understanding that we see everybody's a child of Allah. Don't miss my point. But understanding that other people's ceiling aren't our ceiling. Right? We descend from the 7 creative spirits that created everything that ever is. And what is was, and what was will always be.
That's right.
Moving on a pace of boundless space, Mo. That's what I'm trying to. Let's move on a pace of boundless space. Because that's literally what's happening with the mind, is that the thoughts can only go so far. But when you start to root yourself in these lessons, the thoughts can move on a pace of boundless space, Mo.
Islam. I'm drawing, Mo. I'm definitely joining. You know, you just said something. I want to talk about that real quick, right? Because it actually it actually it actually it comes full circle. You know, we talk about the Moors in the temple, and then we talk about the Moors who are out of the temple. Well, remember I told you that my first time ever seeing the internet was in 2018.
Yes, sir.
All right. I never seen the internet in my life until 2018. And I'll never forget I made a Facebook page. I had heard about Facebook, you know, people had told me all about Facebook and stuff like that. So I heard about Facebook, but I had never seen it before. So I made me a Facebook page and I went on there and and I put in Moorish American when it was like, searching for friends. Now mind you, I'm still locked up, I'm still in prison. I got a cell phone and I was, trying to connect with the world. And I seen all them eels and bays, and I was like, man, it's a lot of Moors out there. I'm like, it's Moors everywhere. It took me about 3 or 4 days, and the next thing you know, I had, how you can only have 5,000 friends back then. Well, I had 5,000 friends in less than a week. I'm
Yes.
talking about all Moorish Americans. You understand me? I still remember that my very first friend on Facebook. I don't know how to pronounce the sister's name still to this day, but because I don't have that page no more. But she's my friend on Facebook right now. Sister, she's from California. She's a Moorish American. She's from California. But she was my very first friend on Facebook, even before anybody in my family. You know, and so I got all these friends. I was posting like a mug. I'm posting all type of stuff because I'm in jail, so I'm sitting in the cell. I ain't got nothing but time. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I had a couple thousand followers on Instagram quick because I was posting like I'm talking about. They posted. I'm posting 15, 20 times a day. So look, so one day I come from Holy Day service, right? I come from Holy Day service and I post, I say, man, we had a great, I say, happy Holy Day. We had a great Holy Day meeting, Islam to the Moorish Americans. And the sister inboxed me and she say, Maurice Pennington Bey. She say, you went to the temple? And I'm like, yeah, didn't you go to the temple? Like, I literally thought, well, I ain't never missed a meeting. So I literally thought that everybody went to the temple. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, you went to the temple? Didn't you go to the temple? And she was like, you a temple Mo? I was like, well, what the heck is that? I'm like, I don't. I'm like, what? Like, man, she called me out. Look, stop trying to text and just hit the call button. You gotta explain this to me. What is the temple Mo? And that was my first time learning that there were Moors who didn't go to the temple. So I'm like, well, if they don't go to the temple, where do they even get the idea that they Moorish Americans? So that's what led me to really, search these YouTube platforms. And then I was watching these people and they were saying that they was Moorish Americans and they be talking, but they don't have no Qurans. They're not saying nothing about the Quran. And I just was like, wait, hold up. Then they be cussing up a storm. And I'm like, man, wait a minute. I mean, listen, man, some of these people it's the most known so-called Moorish teachers on these platforms. They do everything that the prophets say don't do. So I'm in my mind, I'm like, what in the mother freak is this? You understand what I'm saying? And I started to talk to these Moors. All praises be to Allah, the assistant grand sheikh of missionary post number 9 right now. The brother Ricardo Shepherd Bey was one of those. Was at the time he was one of those young new Moors. You understand what they call new Moors? He was one of them, and I invited him to come to Sunday school. Because when I was in prison, I had that phone. I was the grand sheik on the compound where I was at. But when I got that cell phone, I taught a Quran class every Wednesday. And that class had so many people, Mo. That class had all types of people in it.
Wow.
You know, people came from everywhere just to. And when the whole thing is, when I say, let me rephrase the word hope, because I like to think of facilitating the learning. You know, just making it easier, where we all sit down together and we study. Because I have never ever opened up the Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America without the intentions of learning something. You understand what I'm saying? So even in acting in the capacity of Sunday school teacher, I opened up the Quran and my intention is to learn something. You know what I mean? So that has always been my approach to it. All right. But yeah, Mo, and that whole thing shocked me. And it's the mindjackers. Okay. I have a few individuals who I call jewel thieves, you know, individuals who have, got a little bit of more science and they took it and ran off with it. And they on these platforms and people think they the greatest, most knowledgeable, more scientists that ever existed. I'm like, man, listen. I have learned, all praise due to Allah. In February, I visited with the Sheikh Pray the Ill in Baltimore. I went down to Baltimore and stayed down there for a weekend. And that was incredible. It was a great experience for me. And it was humbling. It was humbling sitting with those Moors there and studying the Prophet's lessons. Moors, if you think you know, if you think you know, there are sages amongst us.
Yes, sir.
There are sages amongst us who have been blessed because of their upright character and their good intentions to be able to take these lessons and demonstrate them to a degree that you wouldn't even believe was possible. You wouldn't even believe it was possible until you have experienced it yourself with your own five senses. All right?
Yes, sir. And shout out to the Moors at Temple 13 in Baltimore, man.
Ooh, wait. Them Moors down there. Them Moors down there, Mo, they like the Islam. But they not the only ones either.
Yes, sir.
You know. And the whole thing is, because we're running out of time now. But the whole thing that all this is about is beware of the dark energy. Beware. It's real. I hear people tell me, I've heard people say, well, I don't believe in that. And it don't have any impact on me because I don't believe in that. Well, let me tell you something. What you believe only impacts what you can do. It has nothing to do with what someone else can do. I'm going to say it again. What you believe only impacts what you can do. It has nothing to do with what someone else can do. So don't think, Bill, I don't believe in that. So it affect me. That is so far from the truth. All right? That is so far from the truth. Stop playing with this dark energy. I had a brother when he seen the flyer on Facebook for this podcast. Yes, he said, well, it's the principle of polarity, that the dark energy and the light energy is the same. No, it's not. It's not the same. It is the principle of polarity, though. But we have to understand that negative and positive, even though they work together and together they create motion, they are still not the same. Okay? Positive energy it pushes. Negative energy, it pulls. And together, when they working together, they create motion. Now, for these two to work together, it goes back to what the brother Smith Eel has been demonstrating over the course of this podcast, the intention of the practitioner. And I'm going to add to it, the skill of the practitioner. Because it does not matter what your intentions are if you don't have the know-how or possess the skill and talent. You can want to do something with all of your heart. You can desire it with everything that you have. But if you don't have the capacity and the know-how, I'm sorry, but if you do succeed in doing it, it was an accident or a blessing from the great God Allah, one or the other. All right. So with that being the case, please do not fall into the trap of thinking that you can convince yourself where I don't believe and that will save you, because belief is only what we think perhaps may be true. It's only what we think perhaps may be true. The universe doesn't care what you believe. It does not care. All right. So those are my closing words. You got any closing words, Mo?
Yes, sir. Like you said, I think one of the most powerful symbols in the world is the yin yang symbol, and understanding that, you know, the light can be blinding, right? I heard somebody demonstrate, you know, too much sunlight creates a desert, right? As well as the darkness could be a place to spring forth new life and creativity. So it's all about, like you said, your skill mixed with intention on what you create. The skill mixed with the intention, mixed with also the execution, will be the result of what you create. And even then, results can be distracting, because if you don't create a proper system to upkeep that result from happening, a good result will hold you back to think that you can half step something every time. So I'll leave us with that, is that be intentional, be just in your process of how you do it as well.
Islam. All praise due to Allah. Paradigm Shifting the podcast. I hope and pray, you know what I mean? I hope and I pray that paradigms have been shifted today, that we would, you know, take into consideration, you know, how much power Allah has given us to do with whatever we so choose. And how that this power, it can be turned to our own destruction. All right. I hope that we would, you know, stop going to these individuals who have not proven to us, first of all, that they care about us, looking for guidance. I do not care what you know if I don't know that you care. Islam. Islam. Peace and love.
All right. Now that goes against everything that you've been taught your whole life. Everything you've been taught your whole life. You've been taught that you think with your mind. But in the Quran, it talks about what the mind does. Think about some of the things the Quran says about the mind. Jesus said, let us forget the body. He said, let us forget the flesh and go with mind. And go with mind. So therefore, he is identifying that the mind is a vehicle that we could use to transcend boundaries, that we could use to transcend time and space. So when the Prophet Muhammad, he talked about going from Mecca to Jerusalem and back to Mecca in one night, the night's journey. How did he travel? He said he traveled on an animal called Barak, and this animal in one stride, he moves as far as his eyes could see at the speed speed of thought. At the speed of thought, he was traveling with the mind. You understand what I'm saying? What else did he say about the mind? He said, these tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind. So he's telling us that there is a workshop in the mind. And he's saying where we build up thought. He said where things are made of thought and where we build up character. Now he's telling us what we're supposed to be doing in the workshop, but that's not what you have to do because your mind is yours. You can change it when you want to.